And now that we completed the lab 0, we're gonna move to the following lab, which is access and prepare data for Power BI desktop. Okay, so let's go ahead. It will take around 43 minutes to complete. And the idea is here you learn how to import, transform, and append data from different sources using Power BI desktop and prepare for reporting. Okay, so we're gonna start, and you can go through the introduction. Um, so this is an introductory course intended to teach you how to build reports on Power BI desktops, right? So let's see how it goes. Additionally, the results from this model are the starting for module 3. So everything that you do, it will be the starting for the next one. So let's start with the exercise. Let's load data from various sources into Power BI. The data set for this course contains cells from Van Arsdale and other competitors. We have several years of transaction data by day, product and zip code for each manufacturing, and we need to analyze that. To find the USA sales, we go to our folder and we have data and US sales, and there you have the sales file. And the international sales, it should be in the international sales folder, and we have different other countries where we have the data. So the first thing that we're going to do, the task, is to, if you don't have it open, just bring Power BI desktop, and after it's loaded, we have this screen. What it asks us to do first. Yeah, there are different options and look and feel. You can work on dark mode. I always like working on the default, but that's a personal preference. Mine is already configured. I have used it before, so it's not asking me those questions. So make sure you are signed in. I'm gonna sign in with my credentials, which are not uppercase. Martin at datamartin.ca. Once it provides me the things to sign in, I'll sign in, the prompting, and now I'm already signed into Power BI. So it's not really necessary unless you're gonna connect to two sources in your service or when you're ready to upload. But it's always good to have it been signed in with your account. So we're gonna start creating a blank new report. We did that already, but we can do it like again from home, and we're in new blank report. So the next step is that we're gonna make sure that the regional settings are set up properly. So that's in File, Options and Settings, Options. And it's taking a while for opening the options. There we go. Oh, there we go. And where does it tell me to go? Under current file, in the left options, select regional settings. Regional settings. I'm in Canada, so I think I could leave it there. Of course, you're going to select the options of where you are. If you are in the States, you're going to select the States. If you're Canada, you're going to select Canada. For this course, I think that it's fine to either US or Canada. And you can experiment by being in the original, which is what you're going to do eventually. Okay, Power BI Desktop has the capability to connect to a lot of sources. And the newest is connecting to the Fabric's one catalog. I don't know if you have heard about, but now Power BI, it forms part of a bigger family that is called Microsoft Fabric. For if your company has Microsoft Fabric, that's a license, separate license that has to be bought at the tenant level, and say your workspace has to be set up as Fabric. If that's the case, it opens a possibility to more advanced features where you can get data from a centralized repository, which is the One Lake. Microsoft Fabric is now covered a part of this workshop, but there's more in a day courses like the Fabric Analyst in a Day, which I recommend you to take if you are interested on getting if you're getting more into what and understanding more and more what Fabric has to offer. In this case, we're going to select a local file, excuse me, which is a text or a CSV. So going back here, we instead of getting data for the one lake catalog, which are the online resources, we're going to stick with our local source, and we are going to go to see dashboard in a day, data. I guess we're gonna get the sales from US. And we have a preview. Immediately, Power BI recognizes what we have, and we have the preview. But we could extract the data as it is. We want to make some small transformations. So let's go and do transform. That will open a second window that is going to be one of the most popular places is that you're going to work on. At least is one of the places that I like the best. So it's very versatile and you can easily and very intuitively work with your data, which is the Power Query editor. So here the way that we work is we see the data and we have steps that we can apply to the data and see the transformations. So let's see what the guide is asking us to do. So one thing it is yes, Power BI does their best they can, but sometimes we need to adjust like make sure that they do a good job. So the zip is a zip code. It recognizes our whole number, so it says this is an integer whole number. But the truth is that we know it's not a number. That a number is something that you can add, right? Even in Canada, we have a mix of letters and numbers for the postal code. So I don't want this to be added. I don't want to be using it on calculations. So we're gonna select it and make sure this is a a text. Let's see, we can what the guide says. There are different. I would select replace current, right? Let's do replace current. Um, yeah, it goes as replace current. That way, that's just like that. We imported a new file. Now let's get more sources to complete our data set. So let's go as a new source and let's bring in Excel. And we're gonna bring the BI dimensions. Let's see how it works. So let's go back to Power BI. We should actually close and apply. Oh, yeah. No. So in the same section of Power Query, we can more sources. So now we are gonna say new source, Excel, and this time we are going to bring the BI dimensions. So that's in the same folder as the US sales. We're gonna open. And what do we need to do? We're gonna open the BI dimensions and we are going to select all the four. It looks like we're not bringing product. So we're gonna bring the first three. We're not bringing product. Probably is something what we don't need at this point. So sales was a much easier table to bring, right? It was already very nice structure, but Excel is we're dealing sometimes with unstructured data. So we need to do some modifications and work a little bit harder. Before that, we're gonna bring more data. In this case, we gonna go to the more. We are gonna bring an entire folder. So new source, more folder. On the C where's my C drive? Okay, I guess I need to go to this PC C dashboard in a day. data international sales. Is that where I need to land? Probably, yes. And hit OK. OK. Yeah, this approach will load all the files loaded in one table. Yeah, and it's very useful when you have files that are same format, not necessarily the same name, and you don't need to import them by one. So we're going to have combine and transform. Hit OK. And that's it. It got transformed. It was imported all into one. Now what we're gonna do is a little bit of some of the changes similar to what we did before. So it's compatible to the other file. We're gonna change the zip code to text. So for that we go to zip code and we do text and we replace the current. Same as before. So if you compare international sales and the sales table, the international tables, international sales contains two new columns, source name and country. Right? We don't need source name, but we do need country. So let's see how we're gonna solve this, because the files are not completely compatible. So the first thing that we're gonna do, we're going to remove source name. We don't need the name of the file. So to do that, we select the one that we want, and you can either right click and do remove, or select it from the main ribbon, right? So remove, that's it, it's not there anymore. And it's not that we deleted it from the file, no way. It's just a step that we added to transform the data. And if you want to see it, remember here are the steps, and we have here applied the remove column step. If you want one step behind, is the column still there? Same if we go two steps behind, we still have zip, we have the column, and we have the zip column without the data type converted. So the next step, it will be to, what does it tell us to do? Yes, it only shows Australia because it only caches the first 1,000 rows. But you could explore that there's more, right? So you go here and it says, oh, you only see Australia, but the load, you get a warning, there's more warnings there. You haven't read all the roads, you only got the first 1,000. So let's load more. Say this inside file, and you can see that they're all there. Okay, so good. I don't need to apply the filter, and if you do that, just remove the filter. So that's it for now. No, for this part of exercise. So let's go to the next one. Let's do more data cleansing. Rename tables. We want to have clear names for our tables, so our reports and our data model is going to be nice. So sales stares like sales, geography, we want to make it geography. So You can do right click, rename. Manufacturer, we want to make sure it's uppercase. You can double click, that works too. And international sales is international sales, but we want to make a space there so it's nice. And product, I bet you it's product. So this will make it a much cleaner model, and it's better to do at the beginning because later it's always harder to apply changes. Not that you can, but changes later are always harder. Yeah, so we are done with this section. We move to section 2, fill empty values. So in this scenario, some of the data isn't in the right format. Power BI provides extensive transformation capabilities to clean and prepare data to meet your needs. Let's start by selecting product query from the queries pane. Notice that category columns had null values. However, notice that doesn't say however, hover over the gray bar known as the quality bar below the column header. This allows you to easily identify errors and empty values in your data preview. It looks like there are values in the category column only when the value changes. We need to provide data in the columns so there are values in each row. So that's how the file is coming. Remember, we are bringing this from Excel. So in Excel was created for visuals. They don't repeat in every row. It's a very common thing. So what are we going to do? We're going to fill down. So until there's a new value. And when the value changes, we use the new value to keep filling down. So let's do this. Let's go to product, category, fill, down. And you notice that there are a lot of nulls. And if we go in, next one will be rural, urban, there are different ones. But there's a lot of nulls. I want to make sure that everything is completely filled. So fill down. It's not like everything was replaced with mix. Once you found a new rural, like a new category like rural, it keeps going down until it finds a new one. So now it's a more complete file ready for reporting. So next one, split columns. So the product, it happens that it's a compound text. We don't want that. We want to split them into two. So luckily, Power BI has the split transformation, split column, and we're going to split by a delimiter. And we're going to call, we're not going to rename it now. Let's do the splitting first. So here we have product. Again, you can always go right click. I'm a right click. I always like a right click. Here you have split column, but you can also use the split column here. It's the same, and we're going to select by delimiter. And what is the delimiter we have? We have a pipe. And we're going to use it. It's a little redundant, but we're expecting only one. So we want to just split on the first one. If it happens that there's another one, it won't split. So we will only create two columns, the first part and the second one. And we're going to add a symbol and hit OK. So this creates, look at the previous step. This is always nice to, it created two steps. So we have product, and then it created product 1 and product 2. But that's not the names that we want. So let's Power BI does things on its own. We could remove it. Here, it doesn't really do anything. It's trying, after splitting, it goes into a text type, and now it says, oh, I want to make sure I have the right type. Let's change it to text. So it doesn't cost anything. You could remove it if you wanted, or leave it as is. So next step, we're gonna rename it. we're gonna call product the first one and segment the second part. So double click product, or the right click, rename segment. Perfect. Okay, beautiful. So we have both. There's another feature that we could use, that is use column from examples to split. That's very nice. Let's see, where are we going to apply this? Let's see what we have. In the product query, notice that the price column has price and currency concatenated. Oh, I see. There we go. It's a text. Probably we don't want that. I'm sure the price we want to add and do calculations, and they have the currency associated with it. So how do we split this? I guess if you think about it, we could use a space. That would work. But also let's explore other functionalities. Other functionality. This is asking us to add a new column. Add a column, choose the column from examples, drop down and select from all columns. Let's see. Add column from example, all column. Perfect. In the first row of the newly added column 1, enter the price, 412. Let's see. 412. And hit it. 412.13. Oh. 412.13. With the comma. Perfect. So he knows that. And now we have the price nicely converted, right? Notice after you hit enter, yeah, Power BI knows that you want to split the price column. Yes, it's smart enough. What is a common mistake? And we'll see who made this mistake. A common mistake that can occur here is the column from example feature may attempt to auto-type USD, exactly, yeah, and the value when the IntelliSense feature. Do not accept that, just stay with the number. Double click the column header of the newly added query table and added MSRP. Well, I don't need to copy, so we don't want to call it text MSRP. We don't want to call it, oh, I missed the N, MSRP column. Perfect. So that's great. And after we hit OK, MSRP is considered text still, but we're going to change it to a fixed decimal number. Right? Fixed decimal number. It looks way better and it's ready for calculation. Now we want to do the same thing, but for the currency. So we're going to say new from example from all columns, and now we want USD and hit enter. And now he knows that it's USD, and whenever it gets to other currency, it will be the other new currency. We rename the column as currency and hit OK. It is a text, so we don't need to modify the data type. Now we don't need price anymore. We already covered. We split it and we're done. So price, we right click, remove. Boom, gone. Even a cleaner table. Now we're done with cells. We with products, sorry, with products. We want to move to geography, and we don't need all the rows. We want to make sure that we work on the correct, we work with the data. So remember, this is an Excel file. We sometimes we don't start with the data on the first row, but we can tell that it starts in the third one. What do we want to do? We want to remove some rows. That's that here in remove rows, remove top rows. We want to remove from the top. It could happen that we want to remove from the bottom. But in this case, we want to remove 2 rows from the top, and that will get us a more cleaner look. But still, something's not right. All the column names are not correct, but we have them in the first row. So as the guide probably says in the next one, I don't want to get ahead of myself. Yes, we choose use first row as headers, which it is here. It is in many places, but it's here. Use first row as header. And this will bring the first row and put it as the name of the columns. Great. And just to be consistent, we want to make sure that the zip code is a text, and we are consistent with the other files. Why is the data type consistency is important? This is probably something that we're gonna use to link, and that way, if they are the same data type, it can be linked. If it's not the same data types, it cannot be linked and it cannot be talked to each other. If we go to manufacturer, we have a different situation here. We have a different style of file where all the manufacturers are in columns, right? So how we pivot this, right? We need to work on this. So let's follow the instructions. First, we need to remove 3 rows from the top. Is that right? 1, 2, 3. Is that true? Remove bottom. I know that I have to pay attention when you read. We want to remove 3 from the bottom. Perfect. So remove rows from the bottom, 3. That's total garbage. We don't need it at all. Now we have the information that we need. We have the manufacturer ID, the manufacturer, and the logo. That's very important. So now we're gonna transpose. Pivot, transpose. If you're an Excel person, probably to me it's all the same. We just want to pivot the data, right? But the correct term is transpose. It's columns, rows to columns. So we're gonna let's see how it works. So we are going to select here and transform and transpose. It is here for me, and it already made it already did the transpose. You would think if you learn from the previous step, probably the next one is to make sure that the first row the columns are taken from the first row. Yes, you're right. Use first rows are headers, and let's see if it asks us to do any transformations. Notice now the manufacturer table is laid out the way we need it, with a header and values along columns. Perfect. Also notice that the query setting panes under apply steps. There is a list of transformation and steps that they were applied. You can navigate through each one to see what's happened, right? Steps can also be deleted, and as we discussed before, and also some things can be changed with the gear on the right, but we don't need to look at that right now. Now, what happens? We have cells, we have international cells, US cells and international cells. So how are we going to append them together? So the first thing is we are going to select cells and append queries. I think that it's going to be append queries. You can append it into a new table or append it to the one that you selected, that is cells. So I think that it's going to ask me to just do a regular append. Yes, it's a regular append queries. What are we gonna we're gonna just append two tables as is self-described here. If you need to add more, it will ask you a different interface to add more. But now we want to add only one more, right? So we select international, and we say okay. So this is all good, but you're gonna see that the cells we established already a column that is called country. In the international sales had an extra column called country, but sales table doesn't. So if you go at what we added, that the first party was going to be the US sales, the one that has no country, but international sales has country. So probably we're going to replace null with USA. So it's that ask us. You might also notice there is a null value in the country column by default. Yes, for the sales table row. This is because the column didn't exist in the table USA data. Now we add the value USA as a data shaping operation. Okay, that's a good way to do it. I was going to. There was another option that to replace null with a value, but that could be an issue because if at one point one of the international sales tables for some reason brought a null, we'll convert it into USA. So what it's asking me here is to do it differently. Let's see. Actually, it's doing the same thing. So if it's null, let's add we're going to replace it for value, for USA. So that's perfectly fine. And it says add a new conditional column. So that's of course every time that we do something like this, we need to analyze the data. We see that's our data. We trust our data. Does it carry nulls? Because that could be a case, right? That is one of the international sales rows. It came null as a data issue, and we are now categorizing it as USA. Another option would have been to add the column country in the sales table before we do the merge, and that would be 100% sure. There's always different ways and different risks of doing one thing or the other one. So now we want to call the country name. We're gonna call it country name, and we're gonna say if country equals to null, right? Equals to null, then put USA, right? And what if else? We want to select a column and just use country. So if it's country is null, put USA. If not, put whatever data was already there. Perfect. And we need to replace it text. Yes. So we are going to do two things. One is that we're gonna make sure this is text, and the other thing is that we don't need country anymore. You see now here, null USA, that work. Remove. But actually we don't have country name. So now we want to call it country. Just to confuse people. I use an intermediate name until I have it all figured out. Perfect. Oh, so there's another data type. There's a revenue. It's perfectly fine. It's set up as a decimal number, but we know that it's a fixed decimal number and it's money currency related. So it's cleaner. It's nicer. What are the things we want to do? At first, you only see USA data. If you select the drop down, you'll see more, and you can validate that the country is there. It's here. Probably, maybe you'll ask us to load more data. We've done this exercise. You can hit load more data, and there's more countries. It's not only USA. Perfect. So now, what happens if let's hit internet? At this point, all these tables that you hear, all these queries are going to be brought back into our model for analyzing. The truth is that international says we don't need it anymore because it's already appended into cells. So we're going to right click and disable enable load. So it is part that it changes to italic and it's used as a work file. Now it's all included in the cells. Perfect. Now, yes, if we're not gonna, we didn't receive this message because this is a new report. We haven't we haven't loaded the data query into our data model. But if we did it first, that we uploaded the data model into Power BI, and then we want to remove a table that is already in the data model, we'll get a warning saying, yeah, if you remove international cells, you might be losing data. It's not our case because we haven't used it so far. So now let's explore the query dependencies. So if we go to view and query dependencies, and let's expand this a little bit so we can analyze it. That international cells is used as a intermediate file, but it doesn't make it to the end, and it forms part of cells. Is that what we need to see? Yes. And it's very nice to understand how data is loaded. The history international cells is that we brought it from a folder. No, that's not from a folder. These ones were brought. These guys were brought from a folder, right? This one was brought for the international cells folder, and it got into, yeah, this one was brought into the folder, and there were many files there from each one for different countries, and it got loaded into the international cells, and then it got merged into cells altogether. That's very nice. So now we're done for the data fixing. Let's hit close and apply. This will work on bringing the data and the data model into Power BI. So let's wait a few minutes or seconds until it loads. Let's see where we are here right now. It's loading the data. It might take several minutes to load the data. And sometimes when you're loading a big file, it might take a long time. That's one of the things. We're in what is called import mode. Once the data is finished loading, select file, save as, name it my first Power BI model. Save it in the DIAD report. Okay, that's still loading. Probably I'm gonna remove a little bit of the weighting on my video. We are not looking at my screen for on real time. Obviously the sales file is the largest one. That's done, perfect. So go file, it's not responding, but once Power BI responds, and I'll save this yeah, there we go, file, save as, and let's save it into our dashboard in a day reports. Let's put it there. My first Power BI model. That's great. After that, we're done. In the navigation pane to the left of the screen, select data icon to view data that was loaded. If you need to return to Power Query Editor again, you just need to hit Transform Data. Now, after this, go to your check knowledge, and we'll see you in the next lab.